Hello again, folks. All right, let's try this again. I'm still getting over this head cold, and so I started doing this video and ended up in a massive coughing fit because my smart ass didn't think to grab my water before I started recording. So we're going to do this again. Now, this is another video on the David Thorne case. Now, for those of you that are just joining us, David Thorne is a man who is currently convicted in Ohio for the murder of Yvonne Lane in April of 1999. And the only connection that David Thorne has to Yvonne Lane is his son. Now, David Thorne was convicted on murder for hire. He was not actually convicted of the murder itself, probably because they couldn't figure out how to make it seem like he was in two places at once. So what we're going to go through right now is some supplemental reports from the police investigation, and I will actually put this link on my Facebook fan page in the photos section. These are all TIFF files, so you'll be able to see them there. Now, this report is from Officer Ralph Petty, and this was a report written about the day of the discovery of the body, April 1st of 1999. Now, I'm not going to read you this whole thing. It's about 5 pages long. I'm just going to read you a few excerpts from it. Now, here's something that you guys need to understand about the victim in this case before we proceed. Yvonne Lane was a mother of 5 children. She had an on-again, off-again boyfriend that claims all 5 children are his, even the one that's been genetically proven to be David Thorne's. This specific boyfriend of hers was in and out of jail, in and out of prison, and there's just no way to delicately say this. So to Miss Lane's children, I really am sorry to have to put this out here, but it bespeaks to motive. Miss Lane was known to supplement her meager welfare income with prostitution. And she was a frequent visitor, or she was frequently visited by law enforcement. So just understand that as we're going forward in this case. I'm not saying that she was a bad person. I'm just saying that that's what she did. And I personally see nothing wrong with it, to be quite honest. Now, Officer Petty states in this report, the body was of an apparent younger white female, and get this is where that part comes into play, and having knowledge about the victim from a previous call several weeks earlier, and also recognizing the victim's mother, I believe the victim to be Yvonne Lane, aged 26. Now, when you take what I just told you about Miss Lane into account, you had knowledge of her, Petty? Bet you did. Bitch. Now, this part here is very interesting. There was a small TV set across the victim's back, which apparently fell from a dresser next to the victim's body. The dresser was also tipped partially over towards the victim. It seemed these items also fell from the dresser as it tipped. Here's the thing, though, kids. When you look at that picture, and I'll put a cropped photo of that TV up on my Facebook fan page. Again, link below. You'll find it all. When you look at these, at that picture, you're going to notice several interesting things. First and foremost, the TV is intact. If it had fallen from that distance, the way that it hit and landed, it would have broken the glass at the least. Point number 1. Point number 2 is there was no bruising or contusion on Yvonne at all from that TV. And true, she was dead at the time that it was placed on her back. But if it had fallen, it would have left some kind of a mark. I'm just saying. Officer Miller discovered the back bedroom door had been locked from the outside, and upon going inside, he found 2 children, one being a 6-year-old male known to me as Preston Cameron, and the other a much younger child. At the same time, I went up to a 3rd floor area used as a bedroom by both the victim and a 3rd child. There was another young child, approximately a year old, in a crib. I also later learned that a 4th child had been sleeping in a crib located on the ground level living room where we first entered the residence. Now, in my previous video, I stated that there were 5 children in the home. That was actually erroneous on my part. There were 4 children. The 5th one was being taken care of at Yvonne Lane's mother-in-law's house. But the thing about the child roaming around the house is still true. Pardon me. Get this shit, though, kids. This is where it starts to get really interesting. By now, Chief Dordia and Beth Newman, an observer who was with the chief, had arrived and were in the living room on the 2nd floor. Here's what they don't tell you. The chief was on a date with Beth at the time that they were called in about this murder. So the chief brought a date to a crime scene. And they were standing over Yvonne's body. No shoe covers, no gloves, and a fucking civilian. Chief, was that smart? You are now Don Juan. That's your new nickname, Dordia. Officer Miller and I initially gathered all 3 children at the 3rd floor level. Get this shit, guys. A short time later, we decided to cover the victim with a blanket from her bed and then carry the children to the downstairs areas. This method was the only option available for removing the children from the scene. Bullshit! I call bullshit. That was the only option? Are you fucking shitting me? What about holding the blanket up like a fucking screen? How about that? But no, let's contaminate the crime scene further. What are you hiding? The location and position of the body did not show any obvious gunshot entry or exit wounds. Okay, that means that there were no other obvious signs of trauma to the victim. I can dig it. But okay, moving on. I'm just going to let that linger. Captain Brown and I then departed Alliance to observe the autopsy to be performed at the Stark County Coroner's Office. Really? When was the last time you heard of a beat cop being allowed into a fucking autopsy? The primary focus of the procedure was on the throat area of the victim. The laceration was measured by Dr. Murphy and described as gaping, 8 inches in length, beginning 2 inches below the left earlobe and terminating 3¼ inches below the right earlobe. So this slash went diagonal. That's a little strange. Looks like we're going to need a demonstration. Future video. The laceration was deep and completely severed the left carotid artery and also severe laceration of the prominent vein of the left neck. Dr. Murphy also commented on and pointed out an area of edged instrument contact with the bone area of the spinal column. Now, here's the thing, kids. I just so happen to have the coroner's report. Now, this is very strange. This coroner's report is very, very strange. I have never seen a coroner's report that had less fucking information in it than this one. It's just, what? Okay. Let's see. The autopsy is performed at the Stark County Coroner's Office on 4/1 of 1999 at 7 p.m. She was found at 12:30. They're already doing the autopsy at 7 p.m. When my brother passed away, he passed away on a Thursday. We had to wait for him to have his autopsy on Monday. Qua? All right. The decedent is found lying supine on a cart, dressed in a black-gray Everlast sweatshirt and blood-soaked white shorts. Bullshit! They were not blood-soaked. There was a little bit of blood up to the waistband, on the waistband itself. The rest of them were fucking pristine. The body is that of a reportedly 26-year-old, well-developed, well-nourished, approximately 120-pound, 5'3" white female who appears the stated age. There is fixed anterior liver, rigor is receding. Really? Rigor's receding at 7 p.m. Kids, the stated time of death, according to the police reports, was 7 p.m. the previous evening of March 31st. Rigor doesn't set in until about 2 hours after death. We're at 9 p.m. Rigor typically lasts 36 to 48 hours after death. Rigor's receding? Really? At 22 hours after you guys claim she died? Is she a fucking miracle of nature? And get this shit. Yvonne was a little tiny thing. She weighed 98 pounds soaking wet, typically. But she's weighing 120 pounds at the time of her death. Minus her blood. All of it. Because she basically bled out on her fucking living room floor. Why would a woman weigh more at the time of death than she usually did? Let's see. There's an extensive gaping incised wound of the neck extending from left to right and measuring 8 inches by 4 inches. The left sternomastoid is severed. The incised wound extends to the left side of the fifth cervical vertebra. The trachea is partly severed. Bullshit! I have seen the fucking pictures. That thing was completely cut. The trachea is partly severed. There is extensive hemorrhage in the soft tissue. You fucking think? The left internal and external carotid artery and the jugular vein are severed. Hold on. Keep the faith. The right lung weighs 350 grams and the left lung weighs 300 grams. The right and left bronchial subdivisions show abundant blood. The larynx, trachea, and bronchi are lined by intact, smooth mucosal surfaces. No endobronchial lesions are noted. On serial sectioning through the lung parenchyma, the cut surfaces are irregular and dark brown due to the collection of blood. No thromboemboli are identified in any of the pulmonary vessels. Okay, so that makes sense. I mean, her throat was cut. She's trying to breathe. She's breathing in blood as opposed to air. That makes sense. But this is what gets me, kids. That was her lungs. Okay? Biliary system. The gallbladder contains approximately 5 milliliters of dark brown viscous bile. The bile duct is patent. The liver weighs 1,150 grams, has an unremarkable appearance on serial cross-sectioning. Okay. But here in the basically the lady parts. Capsules of the kidney strip with ease bilaterally, leaving unremarkable cortical surfaces. The right kidney weighs 105 grams, left kidney weighs 105 grams. And that's where the detail stops. The uterus, cervix, ovaries, and fallopian tubes are unremarkable. Really? The woman's given birth 5 times. She's had numerous abortions. And yet, they're unremarkable? Really? I have never seen a coroner's report on a female that's given birth that doesn't at least describe uterus shows evidence of pregnancy and childbirth. Nothing. Not a fucking word? Really? You couple that with the fact that she was about 20 pounds overweight at the time of her death, and you do the math. What are you hiding, Alliance PD? Now, this is really interesting. According to the prosecution's narrative, Joe Wilkes acted as a hitman for David Thorne. Was paid $300 to do so, which I find fucking hilarious. Especially considering that Joe Wilkes had implicated David Thorne in a crime that he didn't even fucking commit about a year earlier. But we'll get into David Thorne later. Or not David Thorne. Joe Wilkes. It's been a long day. Shut up. If you're a hitman and you slice somebody's throat in front of their sliding glass door, why the fuck would you drag them into the living room and then stage a really shitty crime scene? Furthermore, why would you wipe off the knife on a pillow? That makes no sense. But I think the most telling piece of evidence about this not being a hitman is this. This is an x-ray. This shoe impression obviously was superimposed upon the top of the x-ray. This is a shoe print from Yvonne's back next to her spine. Whoever killed her fucking walked on her. What hitman do you know does that? Have you ever heard of a hitman doing that? That's personal. That's not, I got paid to fucking kill you. That's, you fucking bitch. Here's what I'm going to show you you are to me. You are less than nothing. You are less than the ground I walk on. That's what that is. That's not a hitman. That's not even close to a fucking hitman. Oh no, kids. That's nowhere near a fucking hitman. Now, as I said, I will be putting the links for this information. Well, not the links. I'll put the link for my Facebook fan page where these are located down below in the description. And I will be putting the page numbers. Now, this initial police report that I just read from, this comes from what's called the murder book. Yes, that's what Alliance PD called their record of the investigation, was the murder book. This is from Murder Book Part 2, and these specific pages are 41 through 45. And I will put the coroner's report as well as that picture of the TV laying on top of Yvonne's back on that specific page as well. Also, down in the description, you'll find the link for the rally fund for David Thorne's defense fund. Don't forget to go there. Please donate. Even just $5 will help. And don't forget to share it. Now, don't forget to subscribe to me here on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Mama Phoenix 6. And if you boogie on over to the About page here on my channel, you'll find everything from my blog to my Pinterest boards to my Instagram. Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you soon.